my name is Heer Patel, and this is my creative critical reflection for the film I made called Lonely Laughter. So my partner and I started working on this film about a couple months ago, and one of the main elements that we were really trying to hone in on was our genre, which is horror. But at the same time, we didn't want this to be a traditional horror film. We kind of wanted it to be more subtle and more psychological in a way where it really makes the audience think and feel. And one of the main conventions we were trying to address was the mental well-being of children. Because so often the mental trials and tribulations that children face are brushed away by society. Mental health problems and the associated feelings of loneliness are rarely addressed with younger children, mainly because they're not at the age to fully express their thoughts. This film aims to bring to light the mental struggles children face daily, while having to put up a persona of false happiness in front of their loved ones. Our main character did a great job of personifying the exact goals that we had. In the daylight, as you can see in the film opening, he seemed happy. He was with his younger brother and me, and everything seemed all fine. But in the nighttime, once the fair got emptier and more isolated, his feelings of isolation also came out, and you could see it not only from his facial expressions, but also his physical appearance as well, which is something that we did intentionally. Children too often face many inner demons, and our character itself was dressed in a way to seem like a demon, but they lack the same kind of support that adults receive when dealing with mental health issues. This film is obviously not intended for children. The deep layers that will unfold in this film opening make it clear that this is not a family-friendly movie, even though it may seem like it from the beginning, but is instead intended for the adults who have gone too long without fully addressing their child's mental well-being. In terms of engaging with the audiences, this is something that my partner and I really spent some time working on. We didn't want the film to feel flat or boring or monotone in any way whatsoever, because we've seen a lot of films. We know what goes into making a film. And one of the things that good films have always been doing for years is catching the audience by surprise and keeping them at basically a firm chokehold for the entire duration of the film. And so these 2 minutes, we wanted to do the exact same thing. We wanted to keep the audience at the edge of their seats, wanting more, wanting to learn more about the characters, wanting to learn more about the main character itself and what happens to him and how he truly achieves the resolution of the conflict. So when it comes to distribution, we wanted to make it really easy for the audience to access this material, because the goal was not to make any money or not to gain any fame or notoriety. Instead, we were really trying to entertain the audience while also providing a very meaningful message that is missed in society today, something that really has not been addressed at all. And when it comes to our production skills, this is something that my partner and I, this was new for us, but at the same time, we had some experience. So when it comes to making films, we have gotten basic experience with storyboarding, filming, editing, etc. There's a lot of steps that go into it. But this subgenre specifically in horror, we hadn't really done. And at the same time, we had very little experience with the fair itself. There are so many moving elements in the fair. We had to deal with the outdoor sunlit hours. We had to deal with crowds. The overall environment itself is very new and unfamiliar, so that adds an element of challenge when it comes to producing a film opening. Another thing was the characters itself. Our main character was a young boy, so directing his actions, directing his minute, fine, even facial expressions is something that we have to be very specific about. Look at every shot size, look at every camera angle, and make sure that the shot itself is fully expressing every single one of our opinions that we're trying to convey. And another thing is our film had a lot of jump cuts, so we wanted to make sure that the jump cuts were exact in their camera size, the frame size, the character placement, the lighting, all of that are very different moving elements that when storyboarding or when first planning, they don't come to mind easily. But when it comes to producing the film in the moment or filming, it's something that we really had to come to terms with. So for sure, our production skills improved greatly from this. We learned so much about how how to convey a message, but at the same time make something entertaining and visually interesting. Our main technologies that we used were an iPhone 15 Pro to film everything, and then we had an attached gimbal that we used for some of the shots, like some of our wider angles, some of our moving shots, and some of our close-ups as well. We had a very specific idea in mind for how our titles should appear as well at the beginning of the film. So one of the platforms that we used to really make our vision come to reality is Adobe Premiere Pro, where we kind of adjusted our titles to move behind people, to move behind objects, etc. It just depends on the title itself, and we're really happy with how that came out. And then in terms of the rest of the editing, with just transitions and music, some of the added visual elements we added, some of the added sound elements we added, we used a platform called LumaFusion, which compared to Premiere Pro is a little bit easier to manage. So for example, with the music, we adjusted the music to match a little bit, like the beat of the music matched with our shots. And then we also changed the speed of the music, slowed it down during our creepy scenes with just our main character during the nighttime. And then we also changed those scenes to visually by adding a filter on top and raising the contrast greatly. So the shadows on his face, the shadows on the background all became very dramatic. All of these tiny little details really helps to tie in all the elements of the film, make it really feel like a horror film, but also really make it feel eerie, creepy. The audience is kind of left with goosebumps, which is something that was one of our goals. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the film. Thanks.